William Henry Harrison, the shortest presidency, and a constitutional crisis. William Henry Harrison's presidency lasted just 31 days, the shortest in American history. At 68, the oldest president elected at the time, Harrison was determined to show his strength. On a cold, rainy March day in 1841, he refused to wear a coat or a hat during his inauguration. His inaugural address stretched nearly 2 hours in freezing rain, becoming the longest ever delivered. Just weeks later, Harrison fell ill with what began as a cold and quickly became pneumonia. However, his primitive medical treatment, including bloodletting and opium, hastened his demise. On April 4th, 1841, Harrison became the first U.S. president to die in office, plunging the nation into a constitutional crisis. The U.S. Constitution wasn't clear on whether the vice president would fully succeed the presidency or simply act as president. Vice President John Tyler boldly assumed the office, setting a crucial precedent for presidential succession. Harrison's death also sparked the so-called curse of Tippecanoe, a pattern where presidents elected in years ending with 0 died in office for decades to come. Zachary Taylor, the poisoned war hero. Zachary Taylor, the 12th president, was a celebrated military leader who never lost a battle. But in 1850, his life ended abruptly under suspicious circumstances. After attending Independence Day celebrations in blistering heat, Taylor consumed large quantities of cold milk, raw cherries, and iced beverages. Hours later, he became violently ill with stomach cramps, vomiting, and dehydration. Though diagnosed with severe food poisoning, his rapid decline and sudden death 5 days later caused rumors of assassination through poisoning. Given Taylor's opposition to slavery expansion, these whispers grew louder. More than a century later, in 1991, his body was exhumed and tested for arsenic poisoning. Nothing was found. Yet, the mystery remains. Was it just bad luck with contaminated food? Or was there something more sinister? Abraham Lincoln, the martyr president. Abraham Lincoln had just preserved the nation through civil war when tragedy struck. On April 14, 1865, while attending a play at Ford's Theater, Lincoln was shot in the head by John Wilkes Booth, a Confederate sympathizer. Booth's assassination was part of a larger conspiracy designed to decapitate the government by also targeting Vice President Andrew Johnson and Secretary of State William Seward. Booth shouted, "Sic semper tyrannis, thus always to tyrants." He leapt from the balcony onto the stage. Lincoln died the following morning, becoming a national martyr. 4 conspirators were hanged, including Mary Surratt, the first woman executed by the federal government. Yet, the full extent of the plot remains debated, with speculation about Confederate involvement or political motives. Lincoln's death irrevocably changed America's course and its mourning. James A. Garfield, shot and killed by infection. James A. Garfield, shot by a disgruntled office seeker named Charles Guiteau in 1881, offers a tragic tale of medical failure. Although Garfield might have survived the bullet wounds, his doctors repeatedly probed his injuries with unsterilized hands and instruments before germ theory was widely accepted. Alexander Graham Bell even invented a metal detector to find the bullet, but it failed due to the metal springs in Garfield's bed. Over 2 agonizing months, infections developed, culminating in blood poisoning and death. Medical malpractice, more than the assassin's bullet, led to Garfield's demise. Guiteau was sentenced to death, but the situation remains a haunting example of the cost of inadequate medical knowledge in that era. Warren G. Harding, death amid scandal and suspicion. Warren G. Harding's presidency collapsed amid mounting corruption scandals, notably the Teapot Dome scandal. In 1923, while on a speaking tour to restore his reputation, Harding fell ill in Alaska. His symptoms began as food poisoning, but rapidly deteriorated into fatigue, confusion, and breathing difficulties. Doctors diagnosed pneumonia and heart problems. Suddenly, Harding convulsed and died in his San Francisco hotel room. His wife refused an autopsy, and the prompt embalming made poison detection impossible. Rumors hinted that Harding was poisoned to silence him or shield him from disgrace. Though no proof exists, Harding's death conveniently ended criminal investigations and remains clouded in mystery. John F. Kennedy, the assassination that shattered the nation. President John F. Kennedy's assassination on November 22, 1963, remains one of the most scrutinized murders in history. Riding in an open convertible in Dallas, Texas, shots rang out, fatally wounding Kennedy. Lee Harvey Oswald fired 3 shots from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. The last struck Kennedy's head, famously captured in the Zapruder film. Kennedy died less than an hour after the shooting. 2 days later, Oswald was killed live on television by Jack Ruby, claiming to spare Jacqueline Kennedy from trial. The official Warren Commission declared Oswald acted alone, but public doubt lingers due to unanswered questions about the motorcade route, Secret Service actions, and mysterious figures present. Kennedy's death shattered public trust and ushered in an era of widespread conspiracy theories. William McKinley, killed by kindness. William McKinley's kindness and accessibility ultimately led to his assassination in 1901. At the Pan American Exhibition in Buffalo, New York, McKinley held a public reception. Despite minimum security, no metal detectors, no background checks. Anarchist Leon Zalgust concealed a pistol, and when it was his turn to meet the president, he fired 2 shots at close range. McKinley initially appeared to recover, but gangrene set in, and he died 8 days later. His assassination exposed security flaws and prompted the modern Secret Service protocols protecting presidents today. Franklin D. Roosevelt, hidden decline, sudden death. Franklin D. Roosevelt died suddenly on April 12, 1945, from a massive cerebral hemorrhage while at his retreat in Warm Springs, Georgia. Though widely admired and elected to 4 terms, Roosevelt's declining health was carefully concealed from the public during World War II. He suffered from high blood pressure, heart disease, and physical frailty. His doctors and advisors kept the severity secret, even from Vice President Harry Truman, who was shocked to inherit leadership amidst world-altering decisions. Roosevelt passed away just weeks before Nazi Germany's surrender, ending an era but leaving questions about transparency and leadership during crisis. Patterns and legacy: how death changed America. These 8 presidents, Harrison, Taylor, Lincoln, Garfield, Harding, Kennedy, McKinley, and Roosevelt, represent a painful cross-section of American history, from illness to assassination. Notably, presidents elected in 0 years died in office from 1840 to 1960. The so-called Curse of Tippecanoe. This eerie pattern was broken only in 1981, when Ronald Reagan survived an assassination attempt. Each death exposed the vulnerabilities. Harrison clarified secession laws. Lincoln's death altered Reconstruction. Garfield revealed medical failings. McKinley's led to enhanced security. Harding showed political corruption. Roosevelt unveiled dangerous secrecy. And Kennedy's shook public trust profoundly. Some deaths might have been preventable with modern medicine. Others led to sweeping reforms in security and governance. 8 presidents enter office with hope, dreams, and plans for America's future. None of them left office alive. Their deaths weren't just personal tragedies. They were pivotal moments that redirected the course of American history. From Harrison's 31-day presidency that established secession protocol, to Kennedy's assassination that ended America's age of innocence. These deaths reminds us how fragile democracy can be. They show us that sometimes history turns on a single bullet, a contaminated meal, or a doctor's unwashed hands. The office of presidency has always been dangerous, but these 8 men paid the ultimate price for their service. Their deaths changed America forever, and in some cases, changed the world. The question remains, how many of these deaths were truly inevitable? And how many were the result of human failings, cover-ups, or something more sinister? The truth may be darker than we ever imagined. Which presidential death strikes you as the most enigmatic or impactful? Their stories invite us to look deeper at the fragile threads holding the American experiment together. If you made it this far, you're clearly fascinated by these presidential mysteries. Hit the like button so we know to make more hidden history content, and subscribe so you don't miss the next story.